Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is a new video on SAP S/4HANA project systems. In this video series, we are going to learn about status management in SAP project systems. Do not forget that we're also having an upcoming batch on SAP S/4HANA project systems where you can learn project systems end to end. And do not forget to register for it. The link of registration is in the description. You can also register by clicking on the QR code on the screen. And do register before 12th of November to get an early bird discount of flat 10% off on the course. Register now and become an S/4HANA Product Systems expert, which is a niche skill in finance consulting.
So today we'll be discussing on the status management topic in project system module. We'll be discussing what is a status in a project, what does the system status and the user status mean, what is a status profile, how can we configure it, what are the different statuses that we can create, and all the details about the status management. So status management is basically telling the current state of a project. Let's take an example that your boss calls you and asks you that the job I gave you around 1 month back, what is the status of that job? What is the current status of that job? If he asks you, what you will do? You will go back and see what all things you have completed, what all things are remaining. So you will go and see an index where you can find that what is the current state of your project. So if you have an index, if you have a particular file where you have mentioned on each day what is the current state of your project or what was the current state of your job, then you can immediately report to your boss that, okay, my current status of project is this. So similarly, when you create a project in the PS system module, you can set various statuses of the project so that you can find out what's the current state of the project, and based on this particular state, the system can allow you or disallow you to perform certain business transactions. So basically, status is required to required for following activities. First is reporting. So you want to report what is the current state of the project. Then allowing or disallowing a business transaction. Correct? Then the third is creating workflows. So with the help of a status, you can do the current state reporting of your project. You can configure such that certain business transactions are allowed or disallowed, and then you can create workflows so that you move from one status to another, and the system also does not allow you to move to a particular status if you have not reached a certain minimum required status in a project. All the things I'll show you in the project builder and in the configuration, how you can configure the status management, the status profile, and in the project builder, how you can set the status. So before understanding what is the status management or status profile, first let us learn about types of status for a project in SAP. So in SAP PS module, you have basically two types of status. One is called system status and another one is called user status. These two are visible when you open a project in the project builder. Let me show you. So I have a project opened here in the project builder. So if you go to the basic data tab for the project definition, you can see you have something called a system status and something called as a user status. So what are these? So the system status is basically status predefined and provided by SAP. These are predefined statuses which are provided by SAP in the PS module, and you cannot configure them. They are set automatically or they can be set manually also. Now this is applicable for any kind of status, system or user status. A status can be set automatically or manually. There are certain statuses which can be only set automatically in the system status activity. There are certain status which you can set manually also. So you can see here there are two kind of status. One is the system and one is the user status. The user status is what is configured by the PS consultant. So let's say that the system status predefined by SAP is not meeting your business requirement. SAP has given certain predefined system statuses, but because of some reason, those are not fulfilling your business requirement. So what you will do, you will configure a particular user status based on the business requirement of the client, and then you will configure it in a particular way so that your requirement is fulfilled. I'll show you in the project builder and the status profile also. But you have to understand that system status is something which is predefined and provided by SAP. User status is something which you will configure in SAP, and then the end user will select the status, user status, or it will be automatically set based on the business transaction as per your configuration. So let's first see what all are the system statuses. So some of the very common system status are CRTD. This is when you create a project. This is called created. It is automatically set once you create the project. Okay, I'm writing about system status. Okay, then very commonly used is REL, that is called released. This can be set manually. You can set this status, system status, manually. How? Go to the project builder, go to edit and status and release. Let me create one new WBS element, one new project. We'll see how this system status works. So I'll go to CJ20N. I'll create a project. Let me enter something. Okay, so you can see here, system has automatically set the system status as CRTD, which is created. You can go to this I button, click on this I button. You can see the name of this status. Now there is a tab called business processes. If you click on this tab, you will see what all business processes are allowed or disallowed when this particular status is set. So what all are allowed? You can assign PS text, you can change WBS number, change structure, you can lock it, you can mark for deletion. What is not allowed is you cannot complete, you cannot confirm the WBS, you cannot change the create a change document. So these are the statuses which are not allowed when the status is created for the project definition. Okay, so let me save this. Let me change the CO area. Let me copy it from the another one. Just a minute. So this is NX00 and NX01. Let's press enter and let us save this. So you can see my project definition is created created, and the system status is CRTD. Now I can release this project, release this particular project definition. The moment I release it, the system status will change to REL. Let me see. So the system status has become REL, that is released. If I go to the I button, I can click on business process and I can see there are multiple activities which are now allowed, and there are certain activities which are still not allowed. Again, this release status is something which I could set manually by going to edit status release. Now I can set the status to logged. I can set the status to order accepted. Then I can set the status to TECO, that is TECO, complete technically. All these things I can do depending upon the system, whether system allows for that or not. I can close this also. Now you see there is something called user status, right? If I click on the set button, what it says me, the status profile, you cannot set or delete the user status. Now why this is giving me an error and why the status profile thing has come here. So let us learn about now the user status. So till now we covered that the system status is what the system has given us. We can set some of the system statuses manually, like released, TECO, closed, and I think LKT or something for locked. Okay, I'll just enter its name. So these statuses I can do manually. Some of these system status which I can do automatically are BUDG, that is budgeted, AVAC, that is availability check. All these will be learning in the subsequent sessions. So now let's go to the user status. What does the user status mean, and how we can configure, and why we were getting an error called user status profile does not allow. Let me again show you the error. Go to this and go to set. It tells me status profile PS 000001 you cannot set or delete. So where from I am getting this error? So let's go to the configuration part. So let's first understand from where the status profile is appearing on the screen whenever I am accessing the project in the project builder. So this particular status profile is actually stored in the project profile. Let me first show you that. So we'll go to SPRO. Then project systems, structures, operative structures, work breakdown structure, user status. Or let's first open the project profile. So if I open the project profile, you can see the project definition status profile is PS 000001 and WBS status profile is 02. So these two status profiles are actually saved in the project profile, from where I am getting the error that this particular status profile does not have any entries. So now let's configure the status profile. So if I go to the create status profile option, I can see that it contains a number of status profiles here. So you have to understand that this particular screen contains the status profile applicable to all the objects across SAP modules. So any object in SAP which is subjected to status management, the status profile, you will find it here. So if you find our status profile for the project definition and the WBS element, we can find it here. So you can see the PS 00001, that is the status profile for the project definition. You can see here it's 001, which is the status profile for project definition. Now let's open this up. So we can see here there is a button called object types. How this particular status profile is applicable for the project definition, we'll see from here. So if I click on this button, object types, I'll be taken to a list of objects which have status management applicable for them. So if I scroll down, I can see that this particular status profile is applicable for the project definition. Let us see that. If I go down, so you can see here, this particular status profile is applicable for project definition, and that is why this status profile becomes applicable for our project. Okay, so now we'll try to configure the status profile. But before that, let's understand the various columns which are coming here. So you can see under the user status, we have something called as status number, which is the first column. Then we have the key for the status, which we want to configure. Then we have the short text giving the description of that particular status. Then we have something called as long text, which will be the long text if we want to enter. Then this column is called initial. This is the first status that the system will save when we create the project. Then there is something called as the lowest status number. Then this is the highest status number, the position, priority, and the authorization key. So let's understand it one by one. So the status number is actually the number of the status which we want to configure. So you have to understand that the status are of two types. One is numbered status and another one is the non-numbered status. The numbered status will be coming with numbers 10, 20, 30 like that you can configure, and it will appear as a radio button on your status section where I have shown you where the system and user status come. It will come as a radio button. The non-numbered status will come as a checkbox there, so that you can select multiple statuses. So let's first configure some of the numbered status. So first I'll create is status number 10. I'll create as CRTD. Short text I'll mention as created. And I'll mark this as initial. So whenever I'll create a project definition or a WBase element, this will be the first status that will be marked automatically for that particular project definition or WBase element. Then this lowest status number I'll put as, let us configure it later. Then we'll create another status that is 20 as approved, APPR, approved. Then 30, let us create as budgeted, BUDG. I'll explain you how I'll be configuring these statuses. So budgeted. Then I'll make this for created as 10 to 20. I'll explain why I'm putting these numbers. Then for this I'll make it 10 to 30. Then I'll make this as 20 to 30. So what does this 10 to 20 mean? This means that I can move from the status created to approved only. Whenever I am selecting a new status, I can only move from the status created to approved from 10 to 20. For the status approved, I can move from 10 to 30. So I can go back to created and I can move up to budgeted. For budgeted, I can go back up to approved only because I have configured as 20 to 30. So this is what lowest and highest number mean. Now let's save this. Now let's configure one more non-numbered status. Let's say that I want to configure something called commissioned. Okay, I'll show you how these appear. Commission, let's press enter. So you can see I have created 3 numbered statuses and 1 non-numbered. Let's see how they appear on the project builder screen.
I hope you found this video useful. If you're having any comments on the content, please do let us know in the comment section. We will try to make as many changes as possible. And again, do not forget to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet. And Do not forget to register for the upcoming online project systems training batch. See you in the next video. Take care.